Jalen Rook was supposed to die, and the Aurelian court had gathered to enjoy it. He stood in magnetic shackles beneath a ceiling of silver fire, while rows of nobles watched in silence. And at the highest platform sat Princess Zira of House Vale. Heir to the Dominion, her voice cold when she pronounced the sentence. Death by vacuum exposure, for firing on an Aurelian cruiser. For resisting Empire, for being human. And when the guards forced him to his knees, she leaned forward and said, "Let this creature be an example. Mercy is how weak civilizations disappear." Jalen lifted his head and met her stare. "You think I am the example?" he said. "Then you misread the story." A ripple moved through the chamber, and Zira rose from her throne until she stood only a few steps away. "Courage does not change mathematics," she said. "By dawn, you will be dead." Jalen smiled. "Maybe," he said, "but if that were enough, you would not need to keep saying it." Then the alarms began, and the Empire's certainty cracked open. Red light flooded the chamber. The dreadnought groaned, and warnings flared across the walls. Reactor shielding compromised. Sabotage detected. Boarders on the royal decks. Before Zira could finish shouting orders, the eastern archway exploded inward, and black-armored raiders stormed through smoke. Varkith corsairs, pirates who sold royal blood to the highest bidder. They fired with brutal precision, dropping guards and driving nobles into panic. And through the chaos, one sniper drew a clean line on the princess. Jalen moved before thought, ripped one hand free from the melting restraint, lunged across the floor, and slammed into Zira as the shot flashed past. The bolt shattered the throne behind her. He rolled, seized a fallen rifle, and dropped two raiders in quick bursts. Zira stared at him in disbelief. The condemned human had just saved her life. Survival overruled pride a moment later. She grabbed a sidearm and joined the fight. "Why?" she demanded as he dragged her behind a collapsed pillar. "Why save me? Because dead princesses start wars?" He said, "Because live ones can end them. Because I do not let murderers choose my morals." Jalen scanned the chamber. "They knew your trial schedule. They hit the reactor and the royal deck first. This is no raid. Someone let them in." Zira's face went cold. Betrayal from inside her own court. Now the princess who had ordered his execution needed the human she had condemned. Another blast rocked the deck. Gravity wavered, and bodies slid toward a fractured wall where the shield flickered against open space. Jalen grabbed Zira's arm and hauled her upright. "Move," he said, "or your sentence becomes your eulogy." They ran through a hidden service corridor behind the ceremonial walls. Sparks raining from broken conduits, bulkheads slamming shut behind them. And to Jalen's surprise, Zira knew the route well. When they reached a sealed transit hub, she pressed her hand to the plate. Lineage suspended, treason protocol engaged. The ship had locked her out. Jalen tore open the panel and rerouted the charge with a strip of alloy. The lock clicked green. Beyond the hub stretched a narrow bridge leading to the command tower. And at the far end, another squad of corsairs emerged through smoke. Jalen opened fire. One raider fell, then another. Return fire shattered panels beneath his boots and opened the stars below them. His rifle died empty. One corsair rushed him with a shock blade. Jalen met the charge barehanded, took a slash across the shoulder, then smashed the raider into the rail and sent him into the void. Zira stepped beside him and drove her energy blade through the last attacker's weapon core. The blast hurled both of them to the floor, and for one breath, they lay side by side. Both alive because neither had allowed the other to fall. And then the real enemy stepped out of the smoke. Lord Sevron waited inside the command tower. Zira's regionadvisor.com as the ship died around him. "Your father is weak," he told her. "Your restraint poisons the Dominion. The Corsairs will deliver order where you would offer compromise." Zira's stare turned hard. "You murdered your own people for power." Severin smiled and gestured toward Jalen. "Your people were doomed the moment you let monsters like him survive." Then he triggered the tower purge. Containment walls began descending. Reactor overload warnings screamed across every console. Jalen saw the solution instantly. Manual core vent from the exterior ring. It would stabilize the ship. It would also almost certainly kill whoever tried it. Zyra understood at once. If you go out there, you die, she said. Maybe, he answered. Then tossed her a pistol, holed him, and sprinted for the outer hatch. Outside the hull, the dreadnought was a storm of atmosphere and fire. Yalan crawled across burning armor, with only failing emergency fields between him and the void. Inside the tower, Zyra held Severin at gunpoint and watched his progress on a monitor. The prisoner she had sentenced climbing across the skin of her dying empire to save her again. With one last surge of strength, Yalan reached the vent controls and slammed them open. A pillar of light erupted from the reactor channels. The overload collapsed, the ship steadied, and across every deck, the death alarm fell silent. The court had wanted a lesson, and the universe gave them one. Recovery crews found Yalan unconscious, but alive, because humans have a habit of surviving the moments meant to erase them. 3 days later, he stood before the imperial court again. No shackles, no kneeling, only silence. Princess Zyra descended from the throne and faced the nobles who had watched his sentence with satisfaction. This human, she said, saved me when we offered him none. He stood against pirates, against traitors, against certain death, and in 1 hour he proved what this court failed to learn in a generation. Strength without mercy is rot. Power without courage is theater. Then, before the entire court, she lowered her head to him. The execution order is revoked, the tribunal is dissolved, and by my authority as heir to House Vale, I ask not for your obedience, but for your alliance. The chamber drew one sharp breath. Because empires can survive humiliation, but they rarely survive truth. Yalan met her gaze and saw no mockery left in it, only respect. Then let this be the first day your people stop fearing humans, he said, and start learning why they should never underestimate them.